I'm going to say something that might sound a little counterintuitive, but hear me out. A complicated business is the fastest path to getting nowhere. And if you've been stuck in design mode or build mode, but not really getting started with putting your content and offers in front of the people that you say you want to be helping, your business model is likely the big thing stopping you from taking action. I put out a call for the members of my program 10K Monthly Content System recently, offering an updated business model review that I could use as a video case study. And Rachel Bellamy, who's been in my program for years, this is definitely the kind of program where lifetime access actually means something. And I thought this would be the perfect example of a big mistake that I see people starting businesses make when it comes to their business models. Here is the thing. Rachel is brilliant. She runs a very successful cybersecurity company, and she's starting a new endeavor with a leadership and legacy coaching company for high achieving women of faith called RAIN. So we're not talking about someone who is new to business or lacking in talent or ideas or drive. She has all of those in excess, actually. The reason why I wanted to share this with you is because it's a really common trap to fall into when it comes to business models. When you are starting your second or maybe even your first business and you think you have to have every single piece figured out and built before launching, you start to think in your head that business two should look exactly like business one, even if you are just getting started with that, right? You're starting at ground zero with that business, even though you already have a successful one. Putting off getting started until there are all the offers, all the funnels, all the pages, all the systems perfect and in place before getting started. And in a lot of ways, it's like the curse of knowing too much, right? You've seen how other businesses, including your own, years into your journey, you've seen how those businesses operate and think you have to build the same thing right out of the gate. In almost every case, starting simple with one signature offer is the best and fastest way to build something that actually grows and generates revenue. So I'm going to go through the reasons why, show you Rachel's before and after business models from the review, and help you make sure that your business model is set up to reach your revenue goals instead of actively working against you. So here's some context. Inside of my 10K Monthly Content System program, one of the bonuses is having me review your business model to make sure that it's actually set up for you to hit consistent 10K months. You would be surprised how often I find business models that are technically impressive, but structurally working against the person behind them and certainly their revenue goals. Rachel had been building RAIN for a long time. She had a lot of proprietary frameworks that she's developed that are really going to help people that she wants to work with. She's a bit stuck in what I call the build trap. She has paused content creation to finalize her funnel. She's delayed launching on LinkedIn because her website isn't finished, but still she's had over 50 people organically complete her free quiz without actively promoting it, but hasn't really followed up with them afterwards. There's a reason why the build trap is one of the most dangerous places to be for a smart business owner, right? Especially AKA maybe perfectionistic tendencies here, because it feels productive. It looks like progress, but it's actually a form of delay disguised as preparation. So I brought Rachel's business model through my lifestyle first business model design process. And I want to walk you through exactly what I found at each stage so you can check your own business model for the same issues. So I always start with lifestyle factors, always, before looking at offers or pricing or funnels or content strategy, because your lifestyle is the container and your business model is what gets built inside that container. If you skip this step, which is really tempting, most people do, you end up designing a business that looks great on paper but doesn't actually fit within your life. And that is exactly how you end up burnt out, resentful, or making no progress. Rachel is currently working over 40 hours per week on RAIN alone, and that's just RAIN, right? She also has her successful cybersecurity company too. Her focused work window is 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., which gives her about 35 hours per week during business hours. So if she's putting in 40 plus hours a week on RAIN, she's almost certainly working evenings and weekends too. She has 2 middle school kids with hard stops for family time. Her goal for RAIN is 25K per month consistently. Her energy givers are strategic and spiritual coaching and teaching and developing frameworks. She's a master at this. Her energy takers are solo execution burden, especially tech and messaging. And that tracks right now because Rachel is doing everything herself, the strategy, the tech, the copy design. But Rachel does have tons of strengths, right? But I'm just going to focus on a couple of them. So when it comes to her lifestyle, she has clear family boundaries, right? And she also now has funding secured to invest in support. And her cyber company income means that she's not building RAIN train from a place of financial desperation. That is a luxury that most business owners don't have, and it gives her room to build thoughtfully. My recommendation for this particular section was to design an ideal weekly calendar that maps out her time across both businesses and gives a theme and a purpose to every single time block. So when does coaching and teaching time happen? When does content creation? Where does strategy fit? What about admin and the cybersecurity company? When you can see it all like laid out in front of you, you can spot the misalignments immediately. You can see where build mode tasks are eating into genius zone hours, and you can see where you're spending time on things that could be delegated. And more importantly, you can protect the non-negotiables, like those hard stops for her kids, by building around them intentionally instead of just hoping they don't get squeezed out. And more importantly, hiring implementation support as soon as possible was my other recommendation. Even if it's just 10 to 15 hours per month of VA support right now for content organization, scheduling, system maintenance, and tech tasks. Because every single hour that I see Rachel spending fighting with tech is an hour that she's not spending coaching, having sales conversations, or creating content, which are the only activities right now that are actually going to generate revenue. So here's what I want you to ask yourself: if the number of hours that you're putting into your own business, your first or your second, doesn't match the revenue that you're getting out of it, how much of your week is actually spent on the activities that generate revenue versus everything else? Once we have lifestyle factors mapped, positioning is the next place I look, because your positioning is the lens that everything else gets filtered through. Your offers, your content, your sales conversations. When your positioning is really clear and focused, every single decision in your business gets easier. When it's fuzzy, everything is going to feel harder. Rachel actually named this challenge herself. She told me that she was unclear on the right messaging balance between her two entry paths: her problem-aware path, which focused on the counterfeit queen patterns, and the things that are limiting your leadership, and her strength aware path, which focused on sacred leadership, discovering your dominant royal identity roles and what's possible. One path leads with what's wrong, the other leads with what's strong. They use the same language, different emotional hooks, and different products, and Rachel couldn't figure out how to make them feel like one cohesive brand experience. That is because they weren't one cohesive brand experience. And when you're trying to market two different messages to two different emotional states using two different products, you've just doubled your workload before you've even made a sale. Then there's Rachel's process, right? So she has the Diamond of Change framework, which has 9 phases. She's identified 8 royal identity roles, and she's developed 4 counterfeit queen archetypes. That is an incredible depth of intellectual property, and it shows just how much Rachel is bringing to the table for her clients. But when someone asks you, so how do you help people, right? You may need to be able to clearly answer that really, really simply. And that depth, while amazing behind the scenes and adds to that client experience, on the outside, your positioning needs to be able to communicate your process in a way that someone hearing it for the first time can immediately understand and remember. So my recommendation was to first complete her positioning one-liner. So I want her to fill in the I help person with problem by process so they can payoffs, right? This is used everywhere. This is not unique in any way. This like one-liner, it's everywhere, but there's a reason for it, right? And it's maybe not something that you would have like externally on your website, but you need to know the answer to that so you can use that as a filter for all of your marketing and all of your messaging. Then I want her to test that with past quiz takers to see if it resonates. Second, I want her to simplify and name the signature method. So she has the Diamond of Change, royal identity roles, and the counterfeit queen archetypes, but she needs to package them as one framework. Something like the Diamond of Change from counterfeit to coronation, right? I don't know, that's just workshopping here. That becomes the thing that differentiates her from other faith-based coaches in the space. So if you find yourself constantly tweaking and messaging or struggling to explain what you do in a way that feels clear and simple, I want you to remember one thing and then ask yourself a question. So first, I want you to remember that even if there are like 85 steps that you need to take someone through to get their goal or solve their problem, you don't need to necessarily communicate that on the front end, right? Your job is to make it feel simple and easy. The question I want you to ask yourself is, if someone asked you what you do right now and how you help, could you answer it in one clear sentence? And would the right person immediately recognize themselves in it? With lifestyle factors and positioning in place, the next step is looking at your offer suite because your offers are where your positioning meets your revenue goals. They're the actual vehicles that generate income, right? And if your offer architecture doesn't match your capacity and your revenue goals, it doesn't matter how good your marketing is, the math just won't work, right? And this is where I saw the biggest opportunities for shifting Rachel's business model. Her current offer suite looked like this, right? Her signature offer was her Royal Identity Assessment at $197. Her signature offer was the Coronation Intensive at about $2,500 for 12 weeks. Her upsell was the Crown Thyself Journey at almost $10,000 for 12 months. Her entry offers were the Liberation Journey at $97 and the other quizzes, which were free. So let's do the math. If Rachel's goal is $25K per month and the Coronation Intensive is $2,500, which is her main offer, she needs 10 sales every single month, right? For a 12-week group program that also requires building an audience first. That's really, really hard number to hit, especially when you're just launching and your audience is small. But if Crown Thyself at $9,997 becomes the signature offer, she only needs 2 to 3 sales per month. That is a completely different business. That is like much simpler, different energy, right? A different number of conversations that she needs to be having. So my recommendation was to flip the offer suite, make Crown Thyself the signature offer, reposition the Coronation Intensive as the downsell or group alternative, and create a paid assessment call as the bridge to high ticket enrollment. And here's what that looks like. So the Royal Identity Assessment stays at $197, but now includes a short one-on-one strategy call where Rachel reviews your results, identify gaps. This is also the sales conversation for Crown Thyself. The Liberation Journey starts at $97 as the order bump or standalone offer. The downsell becomes the Coronation Intensive or a membership at $24.97 for people who aren't ready for the full journey. And Crown Thyself sits at the top at $10,000 per year or $997 per month. And here's the part that I really want you to hear. She can start selling Crown Thyself right away with a cohort of 1, right? We want to make sure she doesn't need a group to form in order to deliver it. She doesn't need to wait for 5 people or 10 people or 12 people to enroll. She can deliver it one-on-one while she builds her audience and then transition to the group model once demand increases, right? This is exactly why I recommend starting with one-on-one delivery first and scaling to a group later. You refine your methodology with real clients, you collect powerful testimonials, you understand what your clients actually need, how they're talking about things versus what you think they need, and you generate revenue while you're doing it instead of building in silence, hoping it all works once you're finally ready to launch. So if you have been holding off selling because you have your heart set on a group program that isn't fully built or you don't have enough people to fill it, ask yourself, could you deliver your signature transformation to one person right now and charge what it's actually worth? With the flipped offer suite, Rachel's revenue plan became much simpler. Phase 1 target was all about $13K per month. So one Crown Thyself sale at about $10,000 plus one downsell at $24.97 plus 3 offer entry sales at roughly $200 each. Phase 2 was doubling that to hit her $25K. The key numbers is she needs about 300 leads per month flowing into her entry offer at a 1% conversion rate and 2 to 4 assessment calls per month converting at 30 to 50% of Crown Yourself. That's manageable. That's clear. That's something that she can actually work towards instead of filling a group program with 10 people every single month. So if your revenue goal feels overwhelming or out of reach, ask yourself, have you actually done the math on how many sales you need per month at your current pricing? And does that number feel realistic and within your capacity? If not, it might be time to revisit not just your business model, but your pricing. Once your offers and revenue plan are clear, the next question is, how are people actually going to find you and move through your offer suite? Your marketing and sales plan is the engine that drives everything else. And without it, even the best designed business model is just gonna sit there. This is where the stop building, start selling recommendation really came into play for Rachel's business model review. So she had paused all content posting to finalize her funnel. She had 0 active visibility, but 50 plus people had organically found and completed her quiz already. That's proof of demand, right? That's proof her frameworks resonate. She just wasn't leveraging it. So my recommendations were to launch LinkedIn content immediately. Don't wait for the perfect website. Ship a good enough website with 4 core pages: the home, the about page, the assessment, and the crown thyself, the signature offer. Start posting 3 to 5 times per week, and every post driving to the free quiz or paid assessment, which now includes the one-to-one call. Reactivate those 50 plus quiz completers with a simple email sequence inviting them to the royal assessment with the strategy call. Those are warm leads just sitting there waiting for a next step. And create the assessment call enrollment script, right? A clear, repeatable process that Rachel can tailor in the moment, but still have the big point she wants to hit. Review results, identify gaps, present crown thyself, enroll, or offer the downsell. The call is the sales system. Rachel doesn't need 5 different funnels running. She needs one clear path working. Either content drives people to the paid assessment, which includes the strategy call and then upsells into crown thyself, or content drives people to the free quiz first, which nurtures them into the paid deeper assessment with the call and then into crown thyself. One path, not 5. Everything else can come later. So if you've been delaying your marketing because some piece of your funnel isn't finished yet, ask yourself this: what is the simplest version of this that I could start with today using what I already have? And a bonus, how can you start using your content and marketing to generate more opportunities for sales conversations? Switch into conversations, right? Focus on the number of conversations you're having rather than leads. And it's going to become so much simpler, especially if you're working with a high ticket model where you don't need oodles and oodles of people coming through every single month. There are a few things that I want you to take away from Rachel's case study that apply to almost every coaching or service-based business I review. Tip number 1 is complexity is not the same as sophistication. Rachel's business model was genuinely impressive, right? 17 products, dual paths, multiple tiers, detailed sequences, but complexity was actually her biggest obstacle. Every additional product, path, and tier is another thing to build, maintain, market, and optimize. The most profitable business owners I see are almost always simpler than you would expect. Tip number 2 is your revenue math has to work within your capacity. This is the step that so many people skip, right? They set a revenue goal and build offers without checking whether the math works for their time available. If your offer is $2,500 and your goal is $25K, you need at least 10 sales per month. Can you realistically generate that many leads and have that many conversations and close that many sales with your available hours every single month? More like an engine than a one-off sprint or a project. If not, it's not a marketing problem, it's a business model design problem. Tip number 3 is to start with one-on-one and scale to group. So I know this might feel counterintuitive. Group programs are more scalable, right? Yes, eventually, but you need a proven methodology, strong testimonials, and enough demand. The key is demand to fill a group program before scaling makes sense. Starting one-on-one lets you charge premium prices, deliver incredible results, and refine your process and generate revenue from day one. Scale when the demand tells you to, not when your business plan or your business coach or someone tells you that you should. Tip number 4 is building is not the same as selling. If you've been building for months without actively selling, ask yourself, reality check yourself here. What would happen if you started having conversations today with what you have right now? Not the perfect funnel, not your finished website, just you, your expertise, and a conversation. If the answer is, I could probably help someone, then you're ready to sell. Stop building, start selling. You can build while you sell. If you are watching this and thinking, I need to take a closer look at my own business model, I have 2 ways to help. So first, you could grab my free Lifestyle First business model template. It is the same framework that I used in this case study, and it walks you through every step we covered today. Your lifestyle factors, your positioning, your offer suite, your revenue plan, and your marketing and sales strategy. It is the best place to start if you want to map your own business model and see where the gaps are. The link is in the description. But if you want someone to do this with you, take a look at your business model with fresh strategic eyes and help you design something that actually fits your life and hits your revenue goals. That's exactly what I do inside of my Coach Salting partnership. We sit down together, we go through your entire business model and build a custom scaling strategy around your capacity, your positioning, and your goals. No cookie cutter frameworks here, no generic advice, just a clear plan designed specifically for you. What I found with our case study subject is something that I find with almost every business owner I work with. The problems are not incredibly unique, right? The structure is almost always the thing that needs shifting. And once you can see it clearly, everything else gets so much simpler and more clear. If that sounds like what you need right now, book a free strategy call and we'll figure out if working together makes sense and what your revised redesigned business model could look like. The link is in the description. I want to leave you with this. So, Rachel is exactly the kind of business owner that I love working with. She's smart, she's capable, she has a deep expertise, and a genuine design to serve her people well. And the only thing standing between her and 25K months was how her business model was designed. This isn't failure, it's clarity. She has everything she needs to make this happen. And clarity is absolutely the most powerful thing you can have in your business. So, if you watch this and recognize yourself in Rachel's story, if you've been building and building without selling, if your offer suite math doesn't quite add up, or if you have more paths than you have paying clients, that's really valuable information. And now you know what to do with it. Your business model should work with your actual life and within your real capacity towards your real goals, real. And when it does, everything else becomes so much simpler.